Stoke fixture between Wrexham and Oxford United. Two teams in the nether regions of the Championship at the moment, both of whom are desperate for a victory this evening. Phil Parkinson's side off the back of 3 draws and a defeat in recent games, trying to put that right against a Gary Rowett side who are also struggling at the wrong end of the table. With me alongside me tonight, Mia Roberts and Mark Howard stepping in for Andy Morrell. We didn't put Mark off when he made his appearance in the Carabao Cup victory over Reading. Mark, good to have you back with us on Matchday Live. Mia, lovely as ever to see you. Tonight has got that slightly special feeling about it, I think, hasn't it, Mark, in terms of two sides who know they've got to try and get after a victory. There are no easy games, as we know, in this division, but both of them will be looking at their respective league positions and saying, this is a game that really we want to be trying to win.
Yeah, 100%. I think you'll see two teams actually go for a win tonight. Only 1 point separating them in the league, and I think that this will be back to almost the Wrexham of League One. I think they'll almost treat Oxford almost a bit like a League One team and go for it. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle tonight. I think it'll be a good game. Obviously, someone doesn't want the game to go ahead.
Out went all the lights. Goodness gracious me. I hope you can still see us. Suddenly it feels like bonfire night here inside the Stoke Kairos. I hope you can still hear us on Matchday Live. I fear you might not be able to, but we'll continue until we're told that we can't. But all the lights have gone out everywhere. The floodlights are out and all the power has gone, apart from the emergency lighting in the stadium. I'm going to keep talking on the hope that you can still hear our output on Matchday Live. I'm not sure if you can or if you can't, but I'm sure this will be something that the stadium management team are trying to rectify as soon as possible. Mia, this is a first for us on Matchday Live.
Do you know who's done this? Andy. Andy's definitely
Andy
done
Morrell,
it.
yeah.
Thinks he's being replaced.
Yeah,
Evening, Noswyth Thar, and a warm welcome to the Stoke Kairas. Sorry for the delayed start in match day live. We've just had a power outage here at the stadium. Out went all the lights, the interior lights, the main floodlights, everything went, and unfortunately that included match day live. But it's good to be back. The lights are back on around the stadium. We're all set to still kick off at 7:45 tonight. It's unconfirmed whether the ghost of Andy Morrell is to blame for the last 10 minutes, but we'll get the thoughts of Mark Howard in for our safarying regular and Mia Roberts, who are alongside us this evening. Well, Mark, you've come back to Matchday Live this evening, but you brought a bit of special magic with you as well. That looked for a moment like it might have been the shortest Matchday Live appearance of the season.
Very nearly. Yeah, obviously the lights going out was a surprise to everyone. First for me anyway, especially on comms. Yeah, it's just an interesting start for the whole programme, really.
How disruptive is it for the players? Is it early enough in the evening for it not to cause too much of a problem?
Yeah, it's so early. Lads are still warming up. The teams are still getting ready. It would be the final bits of preparation, strappings being done by the physios and boots being tied. That's all it would have been delayed.
Mia, you were at Stoke on Saturday, a disappointing defeat. Wrexham are now 4 games without a win. We'll have a look at the team in a moment, but what were your reflections on the performance on Saturday?
Performance, yeah, I think it was overriding sort of just disappointment, really. I thought just far too many of the 11 were just below par, and you know, you can have days like that in football where, you know, it's just not going to go your way, and I think Phil Parkinson touched on it post game in his interview that was just the case. Far too many of the boys were just, you know, below that usual standard that they've set, you know, so far this season, and specifically at the top of the pitch when you're looking at Josh Windass, Lewis O'Brien, they just weren't at it, and that in the end, you know, made us we just looked like we were never going to really create anything and get anything away on goal. So, listen, on another day, maybe it goes another way, particularly with that Ryan Longman chance early on in the first half. But it just wasn't meant to be. And listen, I don't think Stoke were great either. I think both teams would admit that on another day, maybe a draw is probably a more fair result. But, those are the games that you're just not going to win if you play like that.
Well, Phil Parkinson has not taken long in deciding he needs to change a few things around this evening. 4 personnel changes to the Wrexham starting 11. Let's have a look now at the team that Phil Parkinson has named this evening, because Libby Kakachi and Nathan Broadhead will get their first opportunities to start here in league matches under Parkinson. There's also a return for Matty James in central midfield. And it looks like a 3-5-2 formation from the Wrexham manager. Arthur Okonkwo in goal, the same back three, Max Cleworth, Dominic Hyam and left wing back Callum Doyle. Then Issy Kabori on the right, George Dobson, Matt James and George Thomason in the middle, Libby Kakachi on the left and Nathan Broadhead alongside Kiefer Moore up top. So an interesting tweak there in terms of formation, Mia. What are your reflections?
Yeah, to be honest, I was expecting changes. I think if you look at the sort of weeks ahead, obviously Middlesbrough being the first big challenge on Saturday, and then obviously the Cardiff Cup tie and then Coventry at home. It's not exactly easy, is it, the next few weeks? So rotation was definitely needed, especially after the performance on Saturday. I think that was probably some of the positives from Saturday in Nathan Broadhead coming in and Libby Kakache. When they came onto the pitch, they looked bright. They looked like they were going to be the ones who were going to make that change if it was going to happen. But yeah, I think there will be a tweak to it tonight. Obviously disappointing to see Ben Sheaf and Ollie Rathbone not in the squad with little knocks like we've been told. But when you've got someone like Matty James to come in, we know he's shown it a lot this season again, like he did last. And I think it'll probably be that sort of midfield three that we sort of saw last season, and Broadhead just off Kiefer Moore up top.
Mark, the 3-5-2 formation, of course, in your era at the club was very much Phil's default. It'll be a formation, of course, that he knows, but for lots of the players who've come in this season, it'll be the first time they've played this particular formation as Wrexham players. How much impact might that have?
I think that you'll see Matty James probably revert to the deeper one with Thomason and George Dobson playing in front of him, which obviously Dobson really knows well, Matty James knows well. So it's not like you're changing that away from them from last year. I think that they're almost matching it up to be a proper League One game in the Championship, and I think that's probably the biggest aspect that they will do tonight is with Matty protecting the defence a little bit more, maybe stifling Oxford from counter-attack. I think that will be a big feature tonight.
Well, I had the opportunity to catch up with Phil Parkinson just before all the lights went out. Let's have a little catch-up now on what Phil was thinking as he looked ahead to tonight's game. Phil, back at the Stoke Kairas after what seems a little while for the visit of Oxford United tonight. What are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, competitive game. Made a few changes. Looking forward to seeing a couple of lads making their home league debuts. Obviously, George Thomason played in the cup game, but first chance for our supporters to see Libby. He had to wait patiently to get his home debut. So yeah, looking forward to seeing their contributions tonight.
4 changes from you from the 11 who started against Stoke on Saturday. No Sheaf, no Rathbone in the squad, and what looks like a return to 3-5-2. Just talk us through your thinking.
Yeah, Brody just playing off Kiefer. Just wanted to have a look at that. Feel that's got real potential. Sheafy picked up a minor strain over the weekend, and so did Ollie Rathbone, which he'd felt something in training, and it just kind of wasn't quite right. So those two just need a few days to sort that out. And yeah, just kind of like wanted to get the balance of the team right. Let's say the 2 wing backs, we've got real pace and power out wide, and I'm looking for that combination play with George Thomason on one side and Libby and Dobbo on the other side with his.
I appreciate that you talk of a couple of injuries there, Phil, but is the reversion to 3-5-2 in part a reaction to the recent form and a format that you know?
No, not really. I think, recent form has been generally pretty good. I thought, apart from the second half the other day, I just felt in the second period that we didn't threaten the goal enough, and we looked at reasons why. And I just want to change the dynamic again tonight, and I think we've got to get our both systems at the very least with the ability to change to. But yeah, we just want to make sure that, you know, we've got more end products than we showed in the second half, and I don't think it was a lack of trying, it was just a lack of kind of an understanding how we were going to achieve that. But we've gone through that with the lads tomorrow. You know, we want a real kind of high energy Wrexham performance here tonight. We want crosses in the box for Kiefer. We want shots from the edge of the box from the 2-8s joining in. And we want some goal-mouth action and put this team under pressure.
What sort of threat are you expecting from Oxford tonight in terms of formation and the way they play?
Well, they've set up the same personnel as the weekend, which is 4-5-1, which is Vokes playing as a holding midfield player. Scored a lot of goals from set play situations. First and second phase, we've got to be ready for that. And Mills and Dembele obviously got pace on the counter, and I think that's key. That, you know, if we do lose the ball, which inevitably you do at games, we've got to react quickly to stop the counter. We've got to recover quickly as a team. So yeah, that's how we expect them to line up, and we'll see if we're right once the whistle goes.
And just finally, Phil, you spoke a lot in your press conference yesterday about the need for the players to focus on the process and not the outcome. How do you try and teach that through coaching this week?
Yeah, just really yesterday on the meeting about the presentation of what I felt we didn't do well at the weekend in the second period, and then just going back to chances we create and why we create them, and areas we can hurt this team. And I just felt there was almost a bit of anxiousness in that second period, like a desperation to get back in the game rather than a clear understanding of what we need to do. And I always say it came from a good place. We just chased it a bit and didn't play with the structure we needed to do to create the opportunities, because if you look at the stats of our chances created, it's high in the league. We haven't scored enough of them, we know that. But I want to get back tonight that we look a real threat going forward.
Phil, thanks for your time. All the best this evening. Phil Parkinson giving me his thoughts ahead of tonight's match with Oxford United. This game will kick off at 7:45 as billed, despite the short floodlight failure that we had a few minutes ago. So if you haven't yet sorted your iFollow pass for tonight's commentary involving Mia and Mark, as well as Mark Griffiths, head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live. So a first chance tonight, Mia, for us to see Broadhead and Moore as a front two. No Windass and no O'Brien. They're both on the bench this evening. How do you think that might change the way Wrexham play?
Yeah, I think it's a sort of difficult one, because obviously he is a different player to Josh Windass. We saw on Saturday at times Josh Windass was coming so deep to get on the ball, because we know he's got that in his locker where he can go long and sort of play as that sort of deep midfielder if you want at times. But I think Nathan Broadhead, we've already seen in glimpses in a Wrexham shirt, he likes to get on the ball, maybe not necessarily that deep, but he can come deeper. He can do the defensive job like Josh Windass does, so they're similar in that ways, but he wants to take on his man, and more than that, you know, he'll go past two or three or four. So I think he'll be more direct. We obviously have already seen that link up between him and Kiefer Moore in a Wales shirt, obviously against Belgium. They linked up really well, and I just think from the last few weeks he's made it a really difficult proposition for Phil Parkinson to not put him in that starting 11. I think, you know, he's really shown that he belongs to be there, and tonight's a massive opportunity for him to hopefully get back on the score sheet and, you know, make a difference in terms of that Wrexham attack.
The two of them, of course, combining for that goal for Wales against Belgium. We hope for something similar tonight. Mark, Libby Kakachi, a player who the Wrexham fans have only seen fleetingly this season and not yet here, having the option of a genuine left footer to play in that left wing back role rather than Ryan Longman, who's been working hard to cover that position. What sort of options do you think that will now bring in?
Yeah, I think it adds a different dynamic to the team. Obviously, Ryan's been playing really well, filling in there. I think maybe the missed opportunity against Stoke has maybe cost him tonight. I think if he puts that away, he stays in the team. But yeah, to see Kakachi in there, it would be good to see the dynamic of actually taking someone on, going a bit wide and naturally on your left. I think it would be a good option. Obviously, with James McLean also available, Ryan Barnett can cover there. We've got loads of options. And I think it's just about the gaffer tinkering with the team at the moment, trying to find the right partnerships.
Well, George Dobson takes his place in midfield today alongside George Dobson. No Ben Sheaf tonight. If you're just joining us on Match Day Live. Both Ben Sheaf and Ollie Rathbone picked up slight knocks in training over the last couple of days, so neither of them feature in the squad. So Thomason gets a chance to start alongside George Dobson, whose withdrawal in the second half on Saturday at Stoke was the first time he'd missed any minutes this season in the Championship. And for tonight's head-to-head, we're going to take a look at George Dobson squaring up to Cameron Brannigan, the Oxford United midfielder, who's made over 300 appearances for the club. This is going to be a key battle in the centre of the park tonight. Brannigan, a player who started out at the Manchester United and Manchester City academies, got his chance for Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp once describing him as having everything you could want from a midfielder, but after it didn't work out for him at Anfield, he's become a real regular feature of the Oxford United midfield. And of course George Dobson, a player who's become an absolutely regular select for Phil Parkinson this season. Some people perhaps thought he might be one who would lose his place with the influx of new players, but as we can see there, the pass completion at 82.4, a reflection of his good use of the ball. Mark, you played obviously alongside George here for last season when he joined us from Charlton. Have you been surprised that he's been able to make the step up, or did you think he'd be able to make the transition?
Oh no, 100%. I thought he'd be able to naturally step up to this level. I think it was almost getting him out of his comfort zone. We've all known him as such an established League One player that it was almost like an unknown that we hadn't seen him in the Championship yet. So I think Phil believed in the qualities that he does possess. And obviously this season I think George has started off so well that he's seen a real consistency to his game that it's probably taken him on to this next level.
And Mia, Cameron Brannigan for Oxford, a goal-scoring midfielder. He's going to be a threat for Wrexham to be aware of tonight in that 4-5-1 system. But a player who maybe a decade or so ago there were real high hopes for when he was coming through at Liverpool.
Absolutely. I remember watching him on LFC TV when they used to stream all the academy games for free, and he was always one you'd sort of look at the clips of on YouTube and all, you know, on the sort of skill shows and whatever. And yeah, I mean, he's become a bit of an Oxford United legend, really, hasn't he? I think this is his 9th season at the club, like you say, over 300 appearances, I think 59 goals to his name as a midfielder. It's some really top numbers, but he's done ever so well. And listen, I think there's been quite a lot of rumours in terms of his future over the last few years, saying that he actually should be playing above League One level, which is where obviously the club have been for the last 8 seasons or so before last year. So over last year and this season, I think he's got a real sort of thing on his back to sort of prove he can do it at this level in the Championship. And listen, I think he's already started the season quite well in the Oxford shirt, and obviously as now club captain, he's showing his other traits as well.
So we've had a look at one of the key matchups in the middle of the park tonight. Let's have a look at the matchup in the dugout, because it's two experienced managers going head-to-head this evening. Gary Rowett has chalked up managerial experience at a number of clubs at this level and in League One after a successful playing career as a defender, particularly for Birmingham City and Derby County. He's just had under a year at Oxford United, having taken over from Des Buckingham in December last year. Did enough to keep the U's up last season. They're hovering in a similar position at the moment and will be keen to ensure their survival again this year. Mark, you'd have played against Gary Rowett's side a number of times in your career. What are the general traits that you see?
Yeah, I think he's slightly changed tactics this season. I think he's gone to a bit more defensive based, a bit more solid as a unit. They're conceding a lot less goals than they were last year, and I think that they're now playing more on the counter-attack and using that bit of pace that they do have in the team. So it's a slightly different change to the way that I've been used to him playing. He's played a bit more of a free-flowing football before, but it'll be an interesting game to see tonight. Obviously coming up against Phil Parkinson, that both teams will now used to sitting quite deep defensively and playing longer, more direct football, where I think it will be slightly different tonight. I think there'll be a lot more playing through the lines and trying to get in behind teams.
Mark, Mia, thank you very much for now. We'll come back to you in just a few minutes' time, but we've got the chance on Match Day Live this evening to now spend a few minutes with a recent appointment at the club. The new Women's Director of Football, Mark Swales, has come to join us. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on Match Day Live this evening. Welcome to Wrexham. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that to you. What's it like to be settling into a new club?
The first 3 weeks have been amazing. Just the people, what make this place, the community, and even in the last week that it's been announced that my role, the sort of connection with people around the town and everything, wishing me well, and understanding where the team are and what we got to look forward to over the coming months and years of really trying to drive forward the expectations of the club and the town to turn the women into what the men have done, really drive forward the football on the pitch.
Now, you spent 12 years, the last 12 years at the English FA. I'm sure that there might have been a few approaches coming your way in that time, I don't know. But what made you think that this was the right move for you back into the club game?
Well, my experience at the FA was the last 6 years. I've spent my time working with WSL and WSL2 clubs around their managers, their coaches, helping them drive forward their own high-performance environments, from clubs that have gone from part-time to full-time, to in the last couple of years teams that have won Champions League. So when the opportunity and the role came up here, it was a great opportunity to go, well, I've helped other clubs do this, here's a great opportunity to do it for ourselves. And having known Jenny, the head coach, for many years, she was the first person I spoke to, and she said, you've got to come on this journey with us. And I say the rest is history. Michael and Tina from the club just have said what a great opportunity this is to build on the great work that's already started.
I've seen that you've commented, Mark, so far to say that one of the things you want to do with the Wrexham women is to really develop the growth of the club in a number of different areas.
Yeah.
Where do you see the big opportunities for the Wrexham women's team to grow further?
Short term, it's those quick wins of how do we drive forward standards, and that's already started on the pitch in terms of what Jenny and the coaching staff have done is the intensity, the quality of training, the desire to actually put performance in, as you've seen with the results that sit in joint top of the league. We've really made a drive towards winning this league and achieving the ambition. Off the pitch, recruiting outstanding people that add value to the backroom team. We've just added a new strength and conditioning coach, an analysis coach, and already the new ideas that are coming from them are really driving forward the excitement around the training ground and on match days.
I also get the strong impression, Mark, from some of your early comments that you want to leave a legacy here. I know you've only just arrived and you won't be thinking of leaving just yet.
No, hopefully not.
I hope not either. But if we wind the clock forward a few years, what are sort of some of the things that, given a crystal ball, you'd love to say, well, that's the kind of legacy I want to leave in terms of where the club might be by that point?
Yeah. I think, from a high performance and professional football perspective, we'd like to see the standards continue to be competing for the league. The ambition to get into Champions League is there and win games for Wrexham, but also for Welsh football. But beyond that, the legacy is as much around my background from education, from working with schools and community. There's an opportunity to use that high performance, that professionalism to be a catalyst for the community to grow, to provide opportunities for young girls to play football, and learn the skills that sport gives, and really help the area to really drive forward the opportunities for everybody, not just for the elite players.
You've spent time previously in your career at Millwall, also at Chelsea. What are some of the principles that you've developed there and your learnings that you'll be looking to apply here at Wrexham from having worked with two clubs well up in the English football pyramid?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. I think sort of collaboration, connection, communication. A high performance environment and club only works when everyone is swimming in the same direction. And I think that's one of the key things. If we really want to drive standards forwards, we need to get everyone knowing what our vision is, what our ambitions are for the club on and off the pitch, and then really build a strategic plan of how we get there. It's not going to happen overnight. We've made great strides already, but how do we start to look at what does 2 years look like, what does 3, 4, 5, and be really clear on the ambition and go, right, we're on this road together, we're on this journey, and we're going to work really hard to make it happen.
Excellent. Well, Mark, you'll start your time away at Aberystwyth on Sunday. You're going to be making the trip to Mid-Wales?
Yes, yep. Looking forward to it. It's one I haven't been to yet. I've been to a few games already and seen the amazing crowd that comes with us. It's amazing to see the support that comes on some of these long journeys to Cardiff and Swansea and places. So looking forward to see the team have worked really hard over the last 10 days to be ready. Training Thursday and then head down for the game on Sunday afternoon.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thanks so much for giving us some of your time this evening. We wish you all the very best in your tenure as the new Director of Women's Football at Wrexham, and we hope to welcome you back to Matchday Live very soon.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks,
Thank you. Mark Swales, the new Wrexham Women's Director of Football, giving us his thoughts on Match Day Live this evening. And as I mentioned, with Mark at the end of that short interview, the women's team next in action at Aberystwyth on Sunday. You can watch that match, of course, free of charge through the Wrexham website. Good to meet with Mark there, Mia, but of course you're going to have a bone to pick with him in a couple of weeks' time, because your team, Llandudno ladies, have gone and picked Wrexham out of the League Cup draw. How are you going to cope with playing against Wrexham?
Oh, I can't wait, to be honest. Yeah, I'm super excited. Obviously, they did the draw last week and we were in training and we weren't allowed to watch it. We had to keep doing the drill, but it quickly came out of the dressing room that the ball had come out and it was Wrexham. So yeah, excited, but yeah, I think it's the first time in my 22 years that I won't want a Wrexham win, so it'll be interesting.
Well, just getting up to around 12 minutes before kick-off this evening for this championship encounter between Wrexham and Oxford United. Let's have a look at the midweek fixtures, because there was a programme in the championship this week that's been split across between last night and this evening, and we can just catch up now with some of the results, because there were some important games played yesterday evening. Sheffield United's improvement continues as Chris Wilder, having returned to the club, gets them moving. They're out of the relegation places, Blackburn swapping with them. Derby County picking up a much needed win over struggling Norwich, who drop into the relegation places. Leicester surprisingly beaten at Hull, and Charlton picking up an excellent win in Suffolk, 3-0 at Ipswich. Millwall beating Stoke, which was also a little bit of a surprise, less of a surprise at Fratton Park. Coventry City utterly imperious under Frank Lampard. They of course are the next opponents here in the league for Wrexham a week on Friday. Birmingham with a good win at Preston, and Southampton, who are struggling at the moment, beaten 3-1 at Bristol City. The other matches tonight: Swansea facing QPR, Watford facing West Brom, and high-flying Middlesbrough making the visit to the beleaguered Sheffield Wednesday, who continue to battle on despite their off-the-field troubles. Mark, all the teams in the lower half of the table showing some battle and some spirit, and that means Wrexham are going to start today's game just 2 points above the drop zone.
Yeah, of course. I think tonight is a massive game for both teams, but obviously for Wrexham to start building that momentum, start getting their home form back to what we're used to. And I think obviously with tonight's game, the cup game next week as well, I think that they'll be really looking forward to building towards the Coventry game and that Christmas period. I think it's vitally important that we start picking up some results now and building that momentum. Obviously over the Christmas period, games come thick and fast, and I think that winning breeds winning, and I think it's vital that they now start doing that.
Here it's far too early in the season to talk about must-win games, but when we look at the next two, away to Middlesbrough and at home to Coventry, the top two sides, a game here tonight against Oxford United, who sit below Wrexham in the table, certainly has the feel of a match that a lot of Wrexham fans will be strongly hoping yields 3 points come the final whistle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got that sort of feeling. I think straight after Stoke, everyone was suddenly going, oh my God, you know, we need to get something. We need to get 3 points at home on against Oxford, and it's because you're suddenly looking around your shoulder, and you've got to beat the teams around you, especially when you look at some of the results last night. Obviously Derby getting a really good win after they've been quite poor last few weeks, and yeah, it just becomes a massive game, especially like you say with those two league games coming up. I'd also add the Cardiff one in there as well, because we've seen what the cup competitions have given us so far in terms of getting those wins. I know it kind of didn't count here with the Hull one, but obviously the Reading, really good wins that give you that bit of momentum. So I think even that one, there'll be extra pressure on it, obviously being a bit of the Welsh derby as well, so it all comes into it. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot of pressure on the boys tonight in this stadium. I just hope the fans, you know, are at it from the very start, and it's a really good atmosphere.
Mark, Phil said to me pre-match that what he was looking for tonight was a proper Wrexham performance. What does that mean to you as a player if you're in that dressing room and hearing those words?
Just to show your personality, let your ability do the talking, but obviously to play with an air of confidence, resilience, create minimal, let them create minimal chances, sit back almost defensively, and just be difficult to beat. I think that's what he's built up over the last 3 or 4 years. We're always difficult to beat, but we knew we could score goals, and I think that's one of the things that you look at the lineup tonight. He's made his team very difficult to beat tonight, and he knows that Oxford come in here unchanged will have a big effect as well. So he's almost resigned to the fact that they are going to be counter-attacked. Oxford are going to play on the counter-attack, and he actually wants that resilience. He wants to break up play by having Matty James and Dobson in there, Thomason in there. If that will happen tonight, he'll then look to then counter that almost and play in behind and get the ball into Kiefer as much as possible, get Broadhead moving in and around the spaces in behind the two in midfield for Oxford.
In your seasons here, Mark, every year you were here, this place really was a fortress. It wasn't a place where Wrexham lost very often. It wasn't a place they drew very often. That hasn't been the case so far this season. In terms of the atmosphere, the feeling that the players get from the fans, if Wrexham don't get off to a good start tonight and get into the lead, is it something that you feel on the pitch if the fans are feeling edgy? Yeah,
100%. It is something that you do pick up on. You pick up on the atmosphere when you're playing. I mean, even the little changes, I'm stood here noticing myself that the dugout, obviously, it's different. It does feel different around here, obviously without the temporary stand as well. I mean, it does have a different feel to it. We went into games last year expecting to win. The Championship's a different level. It's so much harder, and you do get punished more for your mistakes. And I think at the moment, Wrexham are getting punished every time that a team creates even minimal opportunities. You look at the Stoke game, Arthur's made 2 saves and they've scored from a cross. It's just, we're getting a little bit unlucky. They're not getting the rub of the green, but I think that tonight is a great chance to turn that around.
And just building on Mark's point there, Mia, one of the things that Phil said in his press conference this week was that in terms of clear chance creation, Wrexham sits second in the league with only Coventry top of the table above them. That clearly shows that the chances have just not been taken clinically enough at this level to give Wrexham perhaps the dividends and the results that at least some of the performances have merited.
Yeah, absolutely. And even adding on to that, I think Coventry are a bit of an outlier at the moment, obviously after that 7-1 win as well. And yeah, I think bar Saturday maybe, you could say that wasn't one of the sort of problems we were facing in terms of chance creation, because we did look, like we were able to do that. I thought on Saturday, the distances, like I touched on before, it just wasn't right. Kiefer far too many times was just too isolated at the top. And listen, tonight that's a challenge for Nathan Broadhead to make sure he's near him. If we're going to play it long, then he's got to be around him, because Kiefer Moore can win it in the air, but you've got to make sure you've got players around him, otherwise it does no use. But I think the other interesting one to add onto that is George Thomason. Is he going to be the one that goes and is that sort of box-to-box player? Obviously we haven't seen him much in a Wrexham shirt yet. That's what he was sort of known for in his time at Bolton. But at the moment, you could sort of say that midfield looks maybe a little bit more defensive, and tonight I think we've got to go for it a bit more and put the sort of foot down on the pedal.
With that slightly more defensive-looking central midfield, Mark, does that make it ever more important that Kakache and Kabore offer a genuine threat wide?
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's the whole purpose of the change with Kakache, maybe putting Matty James more as a deeper role, that it releases the wing-backs more. And I think that's what we'll see tonight. I think he'll try and see the ball getting played into the wider areas quicker. I think that the build-up play's probably been a bit slow with 2 holding midfielders, and he might try and release Dobson a bit more. And Thomason more. We know he's a box-to-box runner, and I think that we should see that tonight. A bit more of the third man run, getting in the box, making those late runs for cutbacks almost.
One of Phil's other reflections on Saturday, Mark, was he felt the players chased the outcome. They chased the game a bit too frenetically after trailing. They needed to focus more on structure and on process. How do you try and get players to think differently like that? Because with experienced players, they're used to trailing in games and to trying to find a way back. So what will he have been doing on the training ground this week with Steve Parkin and others to try and change thought processes in players looking at tonight's game?
I think it's just in training, just walking through team shape, going through it religiously, meticulously, just making sure that the finer details are done, getting the ball out through Matty James, maybe building the game slower. It doesn't have to be as frantic, doesn't have to be quick turnovers. We know that Oxford will probably play like that. So I think that it'll be more steadily involved for Wrexham, where they'll build out from the back a little bit more, play through Matty, play through the midfielders, and then get the ball wide when they do get those opportunities. And I think it's just, they would have gone through that in training this week. I think that's one of the biggest things that you'll see tonight, is that the build-up play might be a bit slower, maybe a bit more like we have been in the last few years, and then leave that franticness for the last 10 minutes when, if needed.
Mark, Mia, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. We'll see Mark Howard and Mia Roberts back with me at half-time here on YouTube. They'll be heading off now on co-commentary duty with Mark Griffith. So if you haven't yet got your iFollow pass, head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live and you can sort yourself out with Your coverage will also have Wayne Phillips, former Wrexham player, over 300 appearances in the 1990s, joining us at half-time for analysis. All right, you can hear Umar Ohid booming around the Stoke Kairas. The players are just about ready to come out for this evening's fixture. Wrexham yet to win at home in the league season, up against an Oxford United side who've won just twice in 17 away league fixtures. Phil Parkinson shuffling the pack with 4 changes to personnel from the team who lost at Stoke and altering his formation to 3-5-2. Will it bear fruit? Well, we'll at least get an idea at half-time in around about 50 minutes. Please come and join us back on YouTube then, same link, and we'll see if Wrexham can get off to a decent start against their visitors from Oxford. Thanks for your patience through the power cut. We'll see you at half-time.
Here tonight, please welcome tonight's teams, Oxford United and your very own Wrexham AFC! It's that time again. You've got to back the boys and make some noise. Wrexham!
From the owner of Black Audi, registration Sierra Charlie 57, uniform Charlie Mike. Car from Winter Drive, please return to your vehicle and move it immediately.
scorer for Wrexham, number 33, Nathan Broadhead. pedwar yn swyddog wedi fydd yn allai afswm o 2 funud ychwanegol. The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 2 minutes, and in time that's 2 minutes. Bydd y gêm nesaf ar y stwmp cael ras ar yr wythfed o dachwen yn erbyn IFB. Gyda'r fifth gontaf am bywyd mor gloch. A reminder that the next home game here at the Stoke Ras is on October 28th, when Cardiff City are the visitors for our Carabao Cup 4th round match, which will kick off at 8 p.m.
Half-time here at the Stoke Kairas, and it's Wrexham 1, Oxford United 0. A really good performance from Phil Parkinson's side in the first half. The manager said to me before the match he wanted a real Wrexham performance, and that's exactly what his team have delivered in the first 45 minutes. Nathan Broadhead is the difference between the two teams. He turned the ball home from a Kiefer Moore knockdown on the 15-minute mark. It was a goal that was given through goal line technology on referee Elliot Bell's wristwatch. No one was quite sure in the stadium if the ball had crossed the line. The Wrexham fans, of course, and the players believed it had. Oxford saw it the other way, but Bell took one look at his watch and pointed to the halfway line. In truth, Wrexham could be further ahead. Kiefer Moore's had a header over the bar. Libby Kakache unlucky in the very first minute of the game when Cummings saved well at his near post. It's been a strong performance from the home side. The alterations in formation bearing fruit, and Oxford United struggling really to put too much pressure on Arthur Okonkwo's goal. The Wrexham keeper having just one really significant save to make in the first half, which he dealt with comfortably. So far, so good then. After the power cut, everything has been positive. Mark Howard, how have you seen the opening 45?
Yeah, just a really good balance but disciplined performance from Wrexham. I think that they've stifled everything that Oxford have thrown at them. They've also used Oxford's threats against them as well. So every time Oxford have had a set piece or a long throw in, I think you've seen Wrexham counter-attack them, which we spoke about that before the game. I think that's been excellent. I think that the three-man midfield has definitely controlled the tempo for Wrexham. I think Matty James sitting in that deeper role has definitely controlled play with and without the ball. I think he's stifled everything. He's picked up all the second balls, and then he's used his ability of hitting that diag and his real good ball work to get Wrexham ticking.
Mia, who's caught your eye in the opening 45?
I mean, I totally agree with Mark. I think that midfield three have done ever so well. I think George Thomason just looks so eager to get forward and get on the ball, and just some of the rotations between him and Nathan Broadhead have been really impressive. You know, this is a player who hasn't really had much time in the Wrexham shirt at all, never mind with some of the new boys alongside him as well. So, you know, he's right up there for me. But Matty James again, I think Kiefer Moore's had a really good first half as well. I know he hasn't obviously got on the score sheet, but as a striker, some of his hold-up play in that first half really impressive. I thought he had quite a difficult day on Saturday, like a number of the boys. Thought someone, the Stoke defender Phillips, you know, dealt with him really well. But today he's got in front of his man every time. I'd like to see his sort of aerial duels percentages, because I think he's done really well. But even the stuff into feet, he's looked really tidy on the ball, and that's something sometimes people don't give him credit for. So listen, from all departments, from Arthur right up to Kiefer, I think it's been a really impressive first half.
Let's have a look at the half-time statistics then of both attack and defence, because it certainly felt watching this evening's game that Wrexham have had the better of it in pretty much all areas. The Oxford defence have been having to work hard to keep Wrexham contained in and around the edge of the penalty area. Wrexham with more possession there, 58.6%, more shots, more of those on target, forcing 3 corners to 2, and those attacking statistics, Mark, certainly suggesting that Wrexham have had the better of it in the opening 45.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the set pieces as well. Matty James' delivery on that for the goal was excellent. I think it's a really well worked set piece, hitting that direct straight ball over to the back post. Kiefer Moore obviously probably looking for goal himself, but manages to get a shot off, which Broadhead then finishes. I think the use of that has been pivotal. I think even the way that they slowed the game down in the last 5 minutes of the first half, and Matty James really took control of the set pieces and put them in the box. It's been a bit more direct, and I think that's really paying dividends.
Let's have a look at the defensive statistics with Mia now to see how they shape up in the opening half. The Wrexham back three have certainly looked very organised. Callum Doyle getting forward, almost doubling the Wrexham lead just before half-time. He's keen to join in the attacks whenever he can. Oxford have had to put in more tackles, as we see there. 9 clearances for Wrexham, 15 for Oxford, and Wrexham also enjoying the better of the aerial duels, Mia.
Yeah, they're looking really physically impressive at the back. I think, you know, that's somewhere where you'd sort of think, you know, I think there's been a bit of a conversation about that Brunt sort of Doyle sort of rivalry at the moment in terms of who goes ahead of the other, and I think Doyle's shown his class tonight, not only from a defensive sort of physical point of view, which is probably where he does just get the edge on Lewis Brunt, but also going forward on the ball as well. He's made some really good decisions when he's stepped forward, especially next to Libby Kakache. Again, that's another relationship that's only just beginning.
Wayne Phillips has come in to join us. Over 300 matches for Wrexham in the 90s. He's going to join the panel for the next few minutes and at full time. Wayne, we've just been talking with Mia and with Mark about some of the highlights of the first half. I'd like you to comment particularly on Libby Kakache, because it's the first time we've had the chance to see him here due to his injury problems. What have you made of his opening 45?
Very good. He's been positive, I think, from the early kick-off. He got forward quite, in the first few minutes, and he was a bit of a handful for the Oxford defenders, getting into good positions out wide, making good runs behind the back four. And, I've been particularly impressed with him in that first half, as I have with most of the other players as well. It's been a good watch. Started the game very bright. You just hope when the bright starts that the goal comes. And to get a goal within 15 minutes, you just hope then they can take it on and maybe get that second goal, because you do feel in every game you might need it. We've limited Oxford to very little. One ball across the 6-yard box and a couple of long throws have come into the box, but we've defended them well, we've dealt with them, and there's been a lot of good stuff in that first half.
Gary Rowett's a highly experienced manager, Wayne, and we saw a couple of weeks ago against Birmingham. It was the real archetypal game of two halves, where Wrexham looked in control, had the lead, and then lost that lead straight after half-time, and the second half had a totally different complexion. How will Phil Parkinson be thinking through now the likely challenge that he'll get in the second half? Because I'm sure Rowett's going to make some alterations, either to personnel or to formation.
Yeah, having played in hundreds of games myself and now commentating on games, I never see two halves the same. And that'll be iterated by Phil in the dressing rooms at half-time. He'll be making players aware of how it can change, and he'll be using the Birmingham game as an example. We came out and we conceded within 1 minute of the second half. So I think Wrexham will have learned a lesson from that. And this game, I'm quite confident we could go on and win by 2 or 3. But we're in a good position. It's only half time. There's a lot of hard work to be done. They've worked particularly hard in the first half. Nathan Broadhead, every time he gets on the ball, looks dangerous. And but you just feel, well, it's 1-0. There's danger going to come at some point from a team who have come into the game on the back of a good win on Saturday. They haven't shown much in that first half, but I do feel we might see a spell in the game where they do dominate us and get on top.
Mark, you've been in the dressing room for plenty of Phil Parkinson team talks when you've been drawing, winning comfortably, winning by the odd goal and losing. What does a 1-0 half-time Phil Parkinson team talk feel like?
It's business as usual for Phil. It'll be very much the start of the game. He'll treat that as a 0-0. I think that they've adapted to the game very well. And as we were saying, that Oxford had loads of chances, created loads of chances against Derby. They had 19 shots. They've limited them to 1 tonight. I think that's one of the biggest pleasing things, is how well they've done defensively. They've stifled Oxford. And they've also then taken the game to Oxford as well. Obviously, as a home team, you're trying to impose yourself. And I think Phil will be saying that again. Let's start the second half really well. Let's start on the front foot. Can we get the 2 fullbacks nice and high? The 3 midfielders are controlling the tempo of the game. So let's try and get a bit more support to Kiefer Moore, to Broadhead, and see if we can then take the game again to them.
Mia, we've seen this season that Phil has brought substitutes on a little bit sooner than in previous seasons. A lot of the time, halfway through the second half, he's got 5 he can deploy. But his options are a bit different tonight, because some of his subs in the early weeks have started. Who do you think of the 9 on the bench are we likely to see in the second half, and maybe when?
Yeah, I think, when you look at the bench and you see the names like Windass and O'Brien, I think, you've got clear quality, but at the same time, someone like Longman as well, obviously Kakache only just coming back into the starting 11, so that might be one they're just watching out on as well. Kabore, we've seen, he's been managed too. So listen, like we said earlier in the show, you're looking at the next few games. Obviously Middlesbrough away on Saturday, he's going to have one eye on that at the same time. Obviously he wants to get over the line tonight, of course he does, but you've got to manage these players. Obviously we've seen the last few days Ben Sheaf and Ollie Rathbone picking up knocks. Before you know it, you can find yourself in a difficult position. So yeah, but again, someone else like Ryan Hardy suddenly come back into the squad on the bench as well. Could he come off and make a difference too?
Wayne, Nathan Broadhead tonight playing off Kiefer Moore. The first time we've seen them played as a front two. The first time Broadhead has started here in the league. Give us a view on his opening 45, Nathan Broadhead.
Well, he's had to be patient, coming to a new club and a big price tag on his head. And in all fairness to him, he has been. The games he's come on, he's performed, and he might be disappointed that he didn't start Saturday. But you have to wait for that opportunity, and he's had it this evening. And on the first 45 minutes, he's taken it. He's got a goal to his name. Whether he's the man who gets the goal or an own goal, I'm not too sure. But he looks a threat in and around that penalty area. And Nathan, I've watched Nathan since he was 10 years of age. You know, he's always comes alive in those areas that really matter on the football field, and he's got that bit of quality. So I'm delighted with what I've seen from him.
Wayne, Mark, Mia, thank you very much. The players are coming out for the second half. Wayne Phillips, Mark Howard and Mia Roberts will be back with me at full time. We'll see if Wrexham can build on this excellent half-time position and go on to win tonight's game. Just a quick word, if you were waiting for the iFollow commentary in the first half, we're very sorry that the first 25 minutes were not available. This was due to the need to reset the internet firewall here at the Stoke Kairas after the power cut earlier. That has now successfully occurred, so we're not expecting any more disturbances in the second half. Thanks for joining us here on YouTube. Wrexham 1, Oxford United 0 at the interval. Please join us back here, same link, at full time.
Half-time substitution for Oxford, leaving the field number 17, Stanley Mills. He was replaced by number 27, Will Lancashire. substitution for Wrexham in the midfield. Number 33, taking the goal ahead. He's being replaced by number 10, Josh Windass. Substitution for Wrexham, leaving the field, number 14, George Thomason. He's been replaced by number 3, Lewis Brent. Substitution for Oxford in the field, number 23, Sadiq Dembele. He was replaced by number 9, Mark Harris. Substitution for Oxford, leaving the field, number 4, Will Woods. And leaving the field, number 15, Brody Spencer. They're being replaced by number 7, Zemi Plachetta. And number 12, Luke Harris. substitution for Wrexham, leaving the field, number 12, Issa Kamore. He's been replaced by number 24, Dan Scar. Leaving the field, number 19, Keeper Moore. He's been replaced by number 28, Sam Smith. Number 13, the captain, reached the field, big replaced by number 47, Ryan Longman. Whenever the fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 6 minutes. Added time, 6 minutes. Kairas ar yr wythnos o ddechrau yn erbyn Caerdydd. Bydd y peth gyntaf am Newport. Stadium Valorant Vanessa again down. A safe journey home to all supporters. Please do take care when leaving the stadium. We'll see you again against Cardiff. Not like that!
Full time here at the Stoke Kairas, and Wrexham have landed their first home league win of the season. They've beaten Oxford United by 1-0. Nathan Broadhead's 15th minute effort, the difference between the two sides. Wrexham did it the hard way though. They had to close out the last quarter of the match with just 10 men. Callum Doyle sent off for a straight red card for a foul on Siri Dembele. The 10 men though stood strong, and Sam Smith came close in injury time to doubling the lead, Jack Cumming being on hand to provide the saves. It mattered not a jot. Wrexham bank 3 priceless points as Nathan Broadhead takes his tally to 4 for the season. Mark Howard and Mia Roberts have been on co-commentary throughout the evening. Mia, what's your overriding emotion right now?
Oh, just and breathe. It feels like a big sort of hurdle sort of that we've gotten over tonight, just getting that first win at home in the league. And yeah, I think you could tell from the atmosphere when that whistle went just what it meant to the people in the stadium tonight and the players as well, because I tell you what, I think that's probably the proudest Phil Parkinson will feel for a performance so far this season. I think just the graft they had to put into that last half hour or so with 10 men was really impressive, and he'll be so proud of his players for what they've done tonight. But equally, I think even going forward, I'd have to say I think they restricted Oxford even with 10 men, and he'll be so, like I say, so proud of them. I think the best chances really from that second half were both fell to Sam Smith, and that's where you've got to give credit to that back line, because they really stood up. I thought Lewis Brunt did really well when he came on. That's not an easy task to have, and Dom Hyam again, I think he had the captain's armband tonight, and he really showed that, and he showed his class.
Mark, 2 appearances on Match Day Live, 2 home wins. We should invite you more often. Well, that's lucky because we are for the next couple of games, but hopefully you'll keep that run going. How would you analyse that Wrexham performance?
I think Phil said in his pre-match comments that he wanted a proper Wrexham performance. I think we saw that tonight. I think we saw people disciplined, sticking at the task, defending well, and also catching teams as well, catching teams on a counter-attack, and also that bit of quality. Matty James, I thought tonight, controlled the game excellently. He really brought the wingers into play. I think the balance, having Kakacho at wide left and Kabore wide right, I think it really developed their game. I think that they saw a lot more of the ball tonight with Matty sitting there controlling that tempo. And I think obviously I said before about the partnerships. I said Broadhead and Kiefer Moore tonight, especially first half, excellent. I thought they really worked together. I thought Dobson and Kabore, Doyle and Kakacho, I think all over the pitch. I think there's so many positives to take. And although the sending off has made the game difficult for Wrexham, like Mia said, it's really stifled the Oxford team. Dan Scar in the background.
Well done, Dan.
But yeah, I think that Wrexham will be really proud of that performance. They really did stifle a team full of confidence from last week's game against Derby. Like we said at half-time, they had 19 shots against Derby. I think they've only had 2 tonight. And that just goes to show the amount of effort that Wrexham have put into that.
Yeah, despite going down to 10 men, Mia, the only real chance that Oxford created was that Will Lancashire header, which came from the free kick directly after the sending off. It skimmed the top of the bar. And I think of all aspects of the performance, perhaps that's the aspect that Phil Parkinson might be most pleased with, the fact that his team really suffocated Oxford even down to 10.
I think so, definitely. I think at the start of the season, when we were looking at some of the defensive performances in those first few games, I think there was a lot of worry around us defensively, and I think there was sort of the feeling of we're just going to have to outscore the opposition week in, week out, and that's gone away for me. In the last few weeks, we've looked so much more resolute. I think, like I said earlier, a big man to thank for that is Dom Hyam, who's come in and just stood up and looked so impressive in that middle of the three. But again, I thought Max Clear was brilliant tonight. I think obviously before the tackle, Callum Doyle looked really good. I think it's just a bit of a moment of madness, just a bit rash, maybe just feeling the intensity of the game at that point. It did get a little bit scrappy. He's just tried to put one in on his man. You can see what he's trying to do, but it is just a little bit of a silly one. But
is it a red for you, Mia?
For me, I think it is. Obviously, we haven't seen it too many times back, but I think just the speed he goes in, it sort of makes the referee's mind up for him, if you like. And listen, I think Dembele's always going to play for it a little bit in there, but he's one of those players who's quick and sharp on the ball. As long as he gets a sort of touch on it, as soon as Doyle hits him at that speed, like I say, it's always going to be a red.
A red for you, Mark?
Yeah, I just think it was a little bit rash, and in an area of the pitch you don't need to make that kind of a tackle. I think that if Doyle stays on his feet or shows him wide, I think there's still opportunities to either defend the cross or defend the box. I think that just him diving in at the speed that he did, obviously surface is pretty slick as well, it just made it look a little bit worse.
Let's have a little look at the stats then from tonight's game. The key stat, of course, is that Wrexham have beaten Oxford United by 1-0, and we'll check out what that means for the league table shortly as we wrap up on Match Day Live this evening. But let's have a little look at the tail of the tape over 90 minutes. Well, in the end, Oxford had more of the ball. Much of that, I'm sure, would have been in the final quarter when Wrexham were reduced to 10, but still more shots over the 90 minutes. 11 for Wrexham, 3 of those for Sam Smith in the last knockings of injury time. 6 on target and forcing 6 corners to Oxford's 3. Mark, what are your reflections on those stats?
I think you can see from the stats, look, successful crosses. 19 crosses Oxford put in. That just goes to show how well Wrexham defended. I think Hyam was excellent in the air. Kiefer Moore is so valuable as well when he does come back for those set pieces.
Like Ollie Palmer used to do,
exactly.
Coming back defensively.
I think exactly that role. I think coming in and helping the team out, doing more than one job, it's just brilliant for the team.
Let's have a look at the defensive stats with Mia then on tonight's game. Ultimately, the Wrexham defence super solid in holding out the Oxford efforts at trying to put pressure on Arthur Okonkwo's goal. Oxford winning more tackles, having to make more clearances, and ultimately Mia, Wrexham winning the majority of the aerial duels.
Yeah, they just dominated. At no point really did it look like Oxford were going to break through that defence. I thought, especially after we sort of passed by that red card decision and then the free kick after that, really Oxford, tried to make that sustained pressure count, but they just couldn't do it. And that back three are largely to thank, as well as the ones in front of us. And one of the guys who was in that midfield stood next to us now.
A seamless link, Mia. George Thomason, a very warm welcome to Match Day Live. First time we've had the chance for you to join us. Congratulations on the win. What was that like to play in?
No, firstly, thanks very much. That was brilliant. Obviously, it feels as though it's been a bit of a long time coming for myself. I've had a bit of a kind of mixed kind of journey up to this point since signing for the club. So to be able to get out there with my first start, in the championship, and first home win of the season. And, it was really good. And you know what? I think we showed two really different sides of our game there today. In the first half, I thought we played some excellent stuff in possession, and we were really hungry without the ball. And in the second half, we were dogged and showed real good discipline. And to be honest, I didn't feel we were in danger at all through the 90 minutes. I thought the boys all dug in well, and it was a terrific performance.
I chatted to Phil pre-match, George, about the formation tonight, and obviously you came in central midfield with Matty James and George Dobson. As you were walking out the tunnel tonight, knowing the formation you were expected to play, what was going through your mind personally about how you were going to approach the game?
To be fair, I played in a position which I feel really comfortable in, and I know a lot about my own game in that role. I feel quite natural and kind of knew my job in and out of possession really well, so I was just really excited, to be honest. The gaffer let me know yesterday that I was going to play today, and I'd done all my preparation right, and I just couldn't wait to get out there and show that I can cut it at this level.
First half, I thought you picked up some really good pockets. You managed to get in behind their two centre mids. And I think having the balance between obviously Matty sitting and then you and George able to push on a lot more. Is that something that you've been working on?
Yeah, I think you've always got to play a little bit of yin and yang with the opposition. If you've got to cause them problems, and I really thought we did that. And sometimes that's not always with the ball. That's with being clever where you position yourself. And as I say, it's a role that I feel natural doing, and I've learned that role over the last couple of years, and I kind of just brought that to the table.
And then at half time, obviously they've changed their tactics, kind of penned you back a bit. I think it took about 5 minutes for Wrexham to find their stride again. Obviously the sending off does change a game, but when teams are actively changing formations and tactics to stifle you, it's a compliment to yourself.
Absolutely. I suppose the only criticism I could probably say about the lads today is we've got to score again in the first half, because as you see, the keeper goes down in the first half, then they get to half time, it's an opportunity to change, whereas if we score 2-3 in the first half, then it takes that little bit of nervous edge out of it in the second half. But as I say, we showed like two real good sides to our game today, and I'm absolutely proud of everyone out there.
And George, like you said, you touched on it earlier, you haven't played at this level before in the Championship. How determined are you to sort of prove yourself at this level?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel as though I'm a really hungry and ambitious individual, so I really want to show that I can, cut it at this level and help perform to my best to help the team climb up the table. I want to play X amount of games for this football club and hopefully stay in this division and really kick on.
Of course, Middlesbrough come on Saturday. George, you got the trip up to the Riverside, one of the informed teams in the division. How will that win change the dynamic on the team bus and in training in the days that build up to the game?
You know what, the spirit is actually incredible as it is, but I feel as though getting that win always, puts a little extra kick in your stride, and we'll be going there to attack it. I feel as though today showed we, as I say, keep going back to it. We showed we can do both sides of the game. Look, we know it's going to be tough, and playing anyone in the Championship's tough. So we've got to go there with the mindset that we can win. It's going to be tough, but go and give it a good shot, because we're all just 22 individuals on a pitch at the end of the day, and anyone can beat anyone.
The last 20 minutes of the game, you had to play with 10. Wrexham haven't had a red card since Will Boyle in February 2024, so it's not something we've seen too often. Do you practice it at all in training, or is it just something that players have to switch on to in a match because it's quite a rare thing?
I think it's hard to replicate. You can kind of go through it in training if you want, but nothing really replicates things that happen on a match. I feel as though it just comes down to being hungry and disciplined and showing real good character, and I think that's something that this team's really got in abundance, and they've shown it over the last few years, the core group especially, discipline and desire, and I feel as though we showed absolutely tons of that today.
Just take us into the dressing room. What's happening?
It's just happy atmosphere, everyone's smiling. Everyone loves to win football matches, and I feel as though we've got the monkey off the back a little bit getting that first home league win, and hopefully we can get real kick on and put a little run together.
As Steve Parkin shouted, get the 3 points in the skip yet?
I've not actually heard that one yet. I believe he's got a few sayings which I can't wait to
that was a nice clean
probably
one, Mark.
some I can't disclose either.
Well, go and celebrate well, George. Congratulations on your own performance tonight and above all on the win. And we look forward to seeing you again on Matchday Live, hopefully very soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. George Thomason there, Wrexham midfielder, enjoying his first opportunity to start in the Championship tonight for Wrexham here at the Stoke Kairas, and certainly giving himself every opportunity you'd think of starting again at Middlesbrough on Saturday, with a really strong personal performance as part of a functioning midfield which has helped Wrexham beat Oxford United by a 1-0 and improve their league position. We'll have a look at the league table very shortly indeed. Mia, you asked him the question there about how determined he was to prove he could cope at this level and excel at this level, and I guess he's got George Dobson alongside him, who's really kind of written the blueprint in the first few weeks of the season to show how to step up.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the things over the summer. We were looking at, the squad that was already in place and sort of thinking, well, we need some boys in there who've played at this level and done it. But I mean, look at tonight, exactly like what you say. Both him and George Dobson, previous to this season, haven't ever, tasted Championship football. So that's a really interesting sort of, dynamic. And could that sort of duo, that partnership, be one that does play a lot more football than first expected? I think after tonight's performance, I don't see why not, to be honest with you. I think, maybe a few people have written Thomason off only because we hadn't seen him in a Wrexham shirt so far this season, but I thought he really showed his quality tonight, both going forward and coming back as well.
Let's have a little look then at the league table, because it will make for more encouraging reading after tonight's outcome. Wrexham beating Oxford United by a 1-0. Oxford were behind them in the table going into tonight's game. So let's have a little look at how Wrexham have progressed from this evening's victory. Well, that's looking a lot better, isn't it? Up to 15th spot from 18th, 13 points from those 11 games. And Oxford United there you can still see in 20th position. Still very early in the season, of course, but Wrexham getting themselves up towards a much more comfortable place in the middle of the table after that victory. I can see that manager Phil Parkinson is making his way to see us in our pitchside studio here on Matchday Live, and he's going to come in and join us. Well done, Phil. Excellent on the win. What's your overriding emotion right now?
Well, first half I thought we were good. I thought we switched the play well, got in some great crossing positions, mixed our game up well. If we went long into Kiefer, but we played a lot of good short passes as well. Picked the right pass at the right time, and very pleased. And then second half, after the send off, we had to show the other side, which was real grit and determination, which I thought it was out there for everybody to see in abundance tonight, and we really had to dig in at times. And it was important for us to get off and running in the league at home. Obviously, we've had the cup victory and the win against Hull on penalties, but we've been nearly there at home. We've been punished for one little lapse. We haven't taken a lot of key chances, and tonight it was important we got off and running.
When we chatted pre-match, you said to me that you were looking for a real Wrexham performance tonight. Having two different shapes to the game, pre the sending off and post it, has that given you what you wanted?
Definitely. I just wanted to get that feeling back of the kind of real grit, determination, which the fans love. The fans were brilliant tonight for us, got right behind us, and we had to change things around. The subs came on, just did great. Sam Smith I thought was outstanding when he came on, just when we needed him. And I thought all round it was a good performance. The lads who came into the team, I thought really contributed for us tonight. And obviously very pleased. And we move on to Teesside at the weekend.
You changed the personnel tonight in 4 positions. You also changed the formation, but it felt like the players understood instinctively what you wanted from them tonight. From the first whistle, it was a powerful start for you, and it kind of set the tone for the game. Yeah, exactly.
We know in that shape that where we can hurt teams, and I think was key that it gives us extra bodies in the box going forward. And we felt at the weekend we didn't have enough numbers in forward areas, and any shape can work in football. It's how you implement it. But obviously in that 3-5-2, the number 8s have got licence to get forward and make forward runs, and I thought you could see that tonight. They really impacted the game. I thought George Thomason was outstanding. He really was. He was almost flawless in his performance for us tonight.
Yeah, we just had George on here, and he was really pleased with his performance. Clearly felt that he'd made his first step, Phil, almost in proving that he can play at this level.
Oh, without doubt. I've no doubt about that. You see it in training all the time, where he is one of the best players, but he's just been unlucky because when he came in, he was training so well. We're all excited about how he was looking, and then he picked up that thigh injury. But, you know, great character, great lad. Left him off the bench Saturday because I want to give Ollie Rathbone a taste of it. Took it like a man, and you know, that's key for me. I say to a lot of the lads who are out the picture that the way you conduct yourself when, you know, you get those disappointing moments goes a long way, because there's no one happier in the dressing room than the lads for George Thomason tonight.
You said to me again pre-match that you wanted to have a look at Moore and Broadhead as a front two. What were your reflections on how they worked?
I thought they were brilliant. You know, the combination play was good. I thought Broady got the balance right of being in and around Kiefer, but also finding pockets of space to give us that extra pass from the midfield. But I think more than that, you know, when the ball got cleared, you know, from a set play, Broady was first to it. Kiefer headed out the box and set plays, and they were in the position to get a lot of good regains for us tonight, which is really important. And we speak about that a lot. You know, strikers want the eye-catching moments, but all those nuts and bolts of the performance, I thought, were really in place tonight, and that helped the team.
We've just been saying with Mark, actually, that Kiefer Moore is almost giving you something that Ollie Palmer used to give you, which is the ability to get a good defensive header away. Was that something that you thought he would bring when you brought him into the club?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I mean, we against Oxford tonight, you know, I think 3/4 of their goals, the highest percentage in the league, have come from set play situations, the long throw. And we had to defend well. You know, there's one wide free kick, which was a brilliant delivery, which was probably their best chance. And Kiefer's obviously very important to that. And to be fair to Sam Smith, when we put him on, he headed that long throw out the box as well. But yeah, no, Kiefer's brilliant in those situations.
A word on Callum Doyle's sending off?
Well, I mean, I thought the ref was poor tonight. You know, I have to say that. We had him at Leicester. He had the moment where he should have given their lad the second yellow, and he didn't, which I've spoke to the head of the referees about, reviewed it, booked me as well for a nothing incident, which they've almost apologised to me for. And I just think that there was some moments tonight which baffled everybody. And then the sending off, it's Callum's first real foul. He's gone in, and the contact is low. And I thought a more experienced ref would have managed that situation better.
Looking ahead to Middlesbrough now, I think you've got some family links up that way, haven't you, as well, Phil, on Saturday, which will add an extra dimension for you. Any possibility, do you think, of Ollie Rathbone or Ben Sheaf being available for that?
Yeah, we'll probably know more tomorrow on that. I mean, both their injuries are minor. You know, Sheaf, he said to me, you know, if it was the last game of the season, he'd have probably been able to play with it. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow.
And just finally, Phil, the sense in the dressing room today, is it one of relief at the first home win or just joy at the success that you've had tonight?
I think there's a relief there, because for the new lads, you know, they've come into a club which we've had an unbelievable record here, and I know we're in a high division and we haven't got over the line for a variety of reasons I discussed earlier at home, and it was important tonight. You know, the feeling on the pitch was there was a good intensity about our performance. You know, I speak to the lads a lot about, you know, the areas we want to play, but also the physicality in our challenging and winning headers in key moments. And I thought if you go through the game, the first and second contacts all over the pitch, I thought we were really strong tonight. And we needed to be, because they're a strong team, and they had a great win at the weekend.
Phil, thanks so much for coming to join us. Many
Cheers.
Congratulations on the win. Phil Parkinson, Wrexham manager, understandably delighted with his team's performance tonight, both in withstanding the last 20 minutes of pressure as Oxford tried to take advantage of Wrexham's 10 men, but also in a dominant first half performance where they had the lead and perhaps could have led by more at the interval. Not sure that referee Elliot Bell's going to go straight to the top of Phil Parkinson's Christmas card list. Mark, he obviously felt hard done to a bit with the sending off.
No, definitely, and I think it was very honest from Phil there, obviously about his own team's performance and the sense of relief as well. Obviously he had a few words about the referee, and I think that it probably was a sending off, but when it's against you it feels more personal, and obviously with the background of the game against Leicester as well, adding to that, just weighs in on that you do feel that it's slightly against you. But I think that the way that he said that there was a sense of relief for the new players especially to come into a dressing room and not have got a win yet at home, I think that there is huge pressure on that. And I really like the fact that he actually just said yes, yeah, it was a sense of relief in front of that.
Interesting, Mayor, that he made the remark that George Thomason is one of the best players in training. That's quite an accolade, isn't it, considering the size and quality of Wrexham's squad now?
Yeah, it's exactly what you want to hear your manager saying, especially after not being, involved with the squad much in terms of on a match day so far this season. So, if you're Thomason, I think tonight you're feeling pretty on top of the world. Hopefully, if he sees that as well, I think that can only help him. But no, he's obviously working hard, in the week and really pushing. And listen, I think we were talking about it earlier. If Ollie Rathbone was fit, maybe does he go ahead of him? Not too sure. But he's made a statement tonight with that performance, and he'll be absolutely there on Saturday. Looking to be back in that 11 as well.
It's going to be difficult, you'd think, Mark, when Phil thinks about his selection for Saturday to make any alterations to tonight based on the performances from 1 to 11. I guess it's just a question of going up against a team in the top 2 away from home, whether tactically he wants to tinker at all. Where would your money be on what he's likely to put forward at 2:10 on Saturday?
I think he'll obviously assess. They've put a lot physically into that game, and I think that the recovery tomorrow and the second day recovery is vitally important. So I think that's one of the things that Phil always factors in, is the amount of effort put into defending, especially in that last half an hour. It does take a toll on some players. But I think there's so many positives to take. I think defensively they look really secure, really limited the opportunities for Oxford. And I think on the flip of that, attacking, I think the partnership up front really did work tonight, and I think that they'll look to capitalise on that and hopefully start building that partnership that we all know and hope that they can build.
Full time here, if you're just joining us on Matchday Live. It's finished Wrexham 1, Oxford United 0. We've got the chance now to bring Matty James into our pitchside studio. Matty's going to come and join Mark and Mia. Well done, Matty. Okay. Thank you for coming to join us.
No problem.
Good to see us.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Is that a feeling of relief or pure joy at the win?
I think probably a bit of both, really. I think we all know that we wanted the result here, we wanted the win. So there probably is a little bit of relief with that. But I think most importantly was the performance. I think the performance was somewhat back to what we know. Certainly what the fans are used to here. And that was the aim this evening, really, to try and get back to the way that we've been playing. Certainly at the start of the season. And obviously put to bed the kind of the performance at Stoke.
An alteration from Phil in midfield tonight, bringing you back in to anchor that midfield in the 3-5-2 that we saw you do so many times last season. When you spoke pre-match to George Thomason and George Dobson, what did you agree between the three of you were going to do in terms of working in that central area?
I think for us it was trying to get after them as much as possible, to try and get us higher up the pitch a little bit, to make sure that we cover the width of the pitch as a 3. And I thought we did that. I thought when they tried to bring the full back in, Tomo jumped out or Dobbo jumped out, and we managed to get pressure on the ball as much as we possibly could. But I thought in possession of the ball, the positions that them two took up allowed me to have a little bit more space, a little bit more room in the game to be able to try and control it.
It's always hard, I know, Matty, when you compare matches, particularly when you've just come off the field from this one. All the formats are different, home versus away, etc. But over the 90, is that the best performance in the league this season, would you say, or would you go Norwich or perhaps Millwall?
I mean, there's been patches of good performances. I think even the first day at Southampton, certainly the performance there was really good. I think what we've got to try and do is not be patchy and be a little bit more consistent, to try and make sure that we're, a higher percentage in the game is more like tonight, to make it more difficult. I think, tonight is that back to that 1-0, and we're really pleased with that in there. Really pleased with a clean sheet. Because you're always, susceptible in this league, because of the quality and things like that. So to keep a clean sheet in this league is really, really pleasing. And the fact that we've scored and had a few more chances at the end there, I think, it is a really, really good performance and a strong one to take into Middlesbrough at the weekend.
Mark?
I was going to say, first half, mate, I thought it was excellent. I think you really controlled the game, especially against two experienced players. But I think that obviously you outnumbered them. Yeah. Having that freedom of you getting on the ball and being able to dictate play really benefited, having you obviously hitting the diags and also controlling the tempo.
Yeah, I think for as you know what the gaffer likes, and certainly for what I like to get on the ball, I like to control the game, so he gives me the license to be able to do that, and I think tonight it did show that. I think in the second half they made a little bit of a tactical tweak, and for the first kind of 10-15 minutes we were a bit patchy again.
That's a huge compliment on you,
and that's it, and I think
controlled the game that much they had to change the tactics to counter that.
Yeah, and I think that's what this league does give you. They're not just going to allow us to carry on dictating the game the way that we want to. They're going to make changes. So Dembele came into the 10, so he made it a little bit more difficult. But I still thought we had, if we'd have had the final pass in the first 15 minutes, we would have been away again. But you know, tonight was an important result and an important performance, and I think we've all stood up and been counted.
We always said about like having experienced lads in that dressing room. Obviously, you're now probably the most experienced in there.
29.
Looking good for it, Matty.
But obviously, being able to control the tempo of the second half and slow things down and take the sting out of their attacks, I think that was vitally important as well.
Yeah, I think the last 5 minutes-ish we spent pretty much in the corner there. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to manage a game. You've got 10 men and you're trying to keep it there. You've got to be quite clever, but we made sure that we boxed it off. I think Arthur's been limited to next to nothing in the game, and I think that's one of the most pleasing things for us, is that we've been solid, we've been good on the ball. There's numerous things tonight that we've got to take into the Middlesbrough game, and that's going to throw different challenges. They're a top team at the minute, and we've got to go there with a little bit of extra confidence with the result and the performance tonight.
See, with so many new lads signing, do you feel that it's taken that little bit of time to gel and get that team spirit and as we always say about Phil saying, a proper Wrexham performance? Do you think that's taken time?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's difficult when everybody comes from different clubs, and there's so many that have come from different clubs and different kind of philosophies or whatever it is. And I think the fact that the jump to the Championship is a big one, and I think that it is a difficult league, but I think for us, we've been working on that kind of performance, and you've seen it in certain instances of the game, but not enough. There's not been enough consistency in the performance. There's not been enough of it. So I think tonight, I will definitely reflect on it. Definitely look at where we went. Went really well for us, and I think the lads have hopefully, even for the lads that missed out this evening, I think it's a strong squad, and the competition is there, and I think that's what's also going to drive this group, as long as we know what we have to do for each game, because there's going to be games where we have to flip to a different system, or we're losing 1-0 and we have to do something like Gary Rowett tried tonight. So I think as long as we're ready for that, we'll hopefully build on this.
And Matty, you touched on that sort of jump up to the Championship. Yeah. Tonight you had two lads next to you in that central three midfield, both Georges. Yeah. Before the season, haven't played in the Championship before. What sort of things are you saying to them?
I think with Dobbo, he's done excellent. I mean, the way that he's took to it has been incredible, really. And I've told him that, and I did say to him, the Championship's it's a strange one, really. Sometimes you get a little bit more time than what you do in League One, because tactically there's a little bit more going on. But then if you do make a mistake, you can be punished as well. But I think for me, it's just go out there and enjoy it as well. You have to make sure that you do enjoy it. You can't put too much pressure on yourself to perform and things like that. You just got to go out there, do your job. And I think both of them tonight did that.
And you did as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Matty, so much for joining us. All the very best for the trip
much.
to Middlesbrough on Saturday, and well done on the 3 points tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us on Matchday Live.
Cheers.
Matty James, the Wrexham central midfielder, dictating the play this evening as Wrexham picks up their first home win in the league campaign, a 1-0 victory over Oxford United, if you're just joining us on Matchday Live, thanks to Nathan Broadhead's goal in the 15th minute. It's been a good night all round, hasn't it, for Wrexham, apart from the Callum Doyle sending off mark, but that's going to give Lewis Brunt another opportunity, you'd think.
And the power cut.
And the power cut. Well, we got through the power cut. We could blame Andy Morrell for that, so that was positive in a good way too.
But I think having that strength in depth as well, as obviously with the sending off, Brunt coming in, Scarry coming in, you've still got Connor Cody that could come in. There's plenty of options there. So obviously Doyle, it's a frustrating one that he's going to miss a game or two now, but it's obviously there's loads of positives. There's other people that can take his place of such good quality as well.
Mia, just finally, as we close, Middlesbrough will bring plenty of threat on Saturday. Who do you think Wrexham have got to keep a close eye on?
I mean, you could go through the team at the moment, really. I think Hackney's probably one of the first names that comes to mind. But listen, they're a top team. But how well have we been doing away from home? I mean, bar Stoke, let's ignore that one for now. But listen, I think at the moment, I know we've got that first home league win tonight, but I sort of fancy us to go there, and if we look as resolute as we did tonight, I don't think it might be as tough as maybe people are making out. We'll have to just wait and see. It will be fascinating to see. Mia, Mark, thank you so much for your company this evening on Matchday Live. We'll see you again next Tuesday for the big Welsh derby against Cardiff City in the Carabao Cup, and we'll see if that run can take Wrexham onwards to the quarter-finals. Well, this evening was a night when, before the match, a floodlight failure plunged this famous old stadium into darkness. Wrexham needed someone who could put the lights on, and in Nathan Broadhead, they certainly found the man who had the power.
Thanks for joining us on Matchday Live this evening. Diolch am wylio. We'll see you for the Welsh Derby next Tuesday. Good night.